then from 2016 to 2018, he designed and built the pretty river passive house. So, David, why are you here?
Here we are. Thank you, thank you. It was very important to my wife and I to build an environmentally friendly house. So we haven't been certified yet, but we think we will be, and we're almost finished. We started in June 2017. So I'm just going to, we built about 2,500 square feet with breezeways onto an existing log house. And I'll take you through a whole bunch of pictures which will answer some of the questions, and then I'll take you through a few slides. So this is the site right at the very beginning. We're looking over the pond from the house, and you can see the original log house. We tearing the screened-in porch off of it. Digging the, we put footings in. We were going to do a floating slab, but we went and did frost walls all the way around. So we've put Nudura up, and you can see the Nudura. And so the main house, that's about a 1,200 or 1,300 square foot floor plate, plus the breezeway and the garage. The important point here with this other slide is you can see we put 3 inches of styrofoam over top of the existing Nudura to beef up the insulation. Okay, so we're starting some framing here. You can see how it relates. There's the north wall and the south wall. We did 2x8 construction, and then we did 2x4s on the inside for service cavity. This shows the house going up, and the second picture there is just a view of the pond from the second floor. Here the roof truss is going up, and the second picture you can see the existing log house. We put a new front porch on it, and that is a double roof we've put on, and we put a double roof on all of the structures for better airflow and to prevent ice dams, which was a bit of an overkill considering we've really insulated everything, but the builder sort of talked us into it. Another picture just as the building's going up, and you can see with the second picture there, the strapping of the first roof. And that is, we've put Mento on there, and then we've putting a second layer of 5/8 plywood. This is showing the ground floor, and the important thing there is we put 6 mil vapor barrier down over top of the gravel, and then we've put 3 layers of styrofoam down, 3 layers of 4-inch styrofoam. In that previous picture you could see where we taped up around all the pipes. And here we are just finishing off the third layer of styrofoam. And the garage, there's a picture of the garage here, and we put metal mesh down, and that is to hold all of the pipes for the radiant floor heating. And the guys are putting cement down over the floors, so it's a poured slab throughout. So it's radiant floor heating on all the ground floors, and then it was about 5 inches of concrete. So 12 inches of styrofoam in total. And here we've got the windows arriving. We had Optowin windows from Austria, and they showed up in a container with we popped the top, and we used a telehandler to pull them off. They're very heavy. And here we have the Mennonite crew putting one of those windows in, and that's in the master bedroom. And that window itself was about 800 pounds, and I was glad I wasn't part of the team putting it in. The next picture shows some styrofoam putting down on the slab so that we prevented thermal bridging into the window and from the exterior cement slab. So there we have the windows in. That's probably late October last year. And the next picture shows us putting some of the Intello up. And I remember Andrew Peel, I don't know if any of you have taken the passive house course, but Andrew Peel was saying, you're going to get leakage from the cement floor around the foundation. And I thought, well, that's impossible. How's the air going to leak through cement or around the edges of the cement? Well, the reason why I show that picture is when we did the blower door test, we had to sort of re-tape the 6 mil poly to the Intello because we did get a lot of leakage around the cement floor. So here we are on the ground floor starting the Intello. We're putting it all up. Now we got I don't know if you know about Intello versus Super 6, but it's It's airtight but vapor permeable, so it'll allow some of the moisture to transfer through the walls, but it keeps it airtight. And those tapes and everything were provided by 475 Solutions. And here we are upstairs, second floor, and you can see we're putting the Intello up, and we're starting the strapping and some of the taping. And these two pictures show the roof trusses, and you can see we've put holes in every one of the sections so that the first layer allows the second layer. We've got good air movement, and then the second picture shows that roof truss, and we've put 3 feet of insulation in that space for R100 in the ceiling. This picture shows some of the strapping, and then we put a 2x4 service cavity. So the house was framed up with 2x8 walls filled with lamb's wool, which I'll show you in the next couple of pictures. And then we had a 2x4 service cavity on the inside. And I guess that's just showing we finally got the steel going. Very difficult to find steel contractors in Southern Ontario, at least guys who do a good job. We had to fire the first round, and then the second round are in such demand, it's hard to get them to come back. So that's one of the things that's holding the project up. This first picture just shows some of the Zender air tubes. We're putting some of the mechanical in place. And then the next picture, you can see that 2x4 service cavity. You probably can't see from that picture, but we've got lamb's wool going in there. And that lamb's wool is a wonderful product, but it was a lot of work blowing lamb's wool in to all those 2x8 by 2 foot center cavities. We couldn't find the right equipment to blow it in, and finally we had to sort of devise something of our own. But you can see the lamb's wool, and we've had to cut the Intello in a number of places, because if you put the tube in to blow the lamb's wool in, there wasn't enough air to allow it to be blown in, so you had to open up other areas. So afterwards, we spent a huge amount of time taping up all of those holes. So there is one of the tough lessons we learned. There's better ways of insulating, although we're very happy with the lamb's wool. So this next picture shows the service cavity with the 2x4s, and then we've put lamb's wool bats in there. So it's different than the stuff we blew into the walls. And we had to staple that stuff into place because it's pretty heavy and it wanted to droop or fall down. This one picture shows the blower door. We're starting the blower door test, and that was just taking a construction door and taping it up. And you'll see in the next slide we've got the shiplap going up over top of the 2x4 service cavity. So our vapor barrier, or I guess as Andrew Peel would say, our air barrier, vapor permeable air barrier, is behind the lamb's wool bats. Another shot of downstairs, just doing some of the work, and that's a finished breezeway going into the garage. And I don't know if any of you know Graham Fisher, but he built close to a passive house in Creemore, and he came over and helped us with the Zender equipment, which is the fresh air handling system, as we were talking about, which is an important element when you have an airtight house. Is you've got to have constant fresh air coming in. And this next picture shows some of the just some of the mechanicals going through our ceiling, which was a 2x6 cavity. And this is a team of the Mennonites putting the shingles up on the garage, and you can see the existing house. That picture of the house, the steel going up, was just done a couple of weeks ago. So we've been ready to put steel on the walls for about a year now, and it's taken that long to get somebody to come by and do the steel paneling. The guys we have now are excellent, but they are in such demand, and everybody's screaming at them because they haven't shown up on time, and everything, as you know, in construction takes a lot longer than you think. So here are a couple of pictures on the inside of the house and the finished kitchen, and there's the existing log house. And I'll talk a little bit about that further, but there was a big compromise in keeping the existing house, and after you do the job, you sort of wonder, was it the right decision? And I think spiritually for us, it was absolutely the right decision, but there was a huge cost. And all I can say is make sure if you're going to keep an existing dwelling, you really love it, because we really had to compromise our design and a lot of that stuff. This is the living room, the last picture. We're just oiling the oak floors. We've got a bogus fireplace. It's sort of, we're putting an LED unit in it with no heat. But we were also, and I was determined we were going to put a fireplace in, but I guess Andrew Peel and the Passive House guys all sort of wore me down after a while and realized we'd overheat ourselves very quickly with it. So this is a picture with the Gutex. We hung 3-inch Gutex on the outside to prevent any thermal bridging. And this is the crew of the Mennonites putting it up. It actually went very quickly. I was sort of thinking when I got into this was going to be a bit of a nightmare. We got all this extra stuff and it's going to take weeks to put it up. They put that Gutex up in a couple of days. They had, and with all the Mento on top of it. So it didn't end up costing that much more money. I mean, you had to pay for the material, but it went very quickly. And it was great having a good team. But they're then putting the Mento on, and the next picture shows the building ready for steel, and that would probably be the end of October, early November last year. So again, and if you look at the garage there, that's the back of the garage, that's covered in 1-inch Gutex. So we sort of thought we don't need to have a Passive House garage, but once we were putting Gutex and drinking the Kool-Aid, we decided we'd put 1-inch Gutex on the garage. I've got a wood stove there. I wanted to preserve as much wood as I could, I guess. So into a few slides here. This is positioning the new house, and you can see the old house there, and then I've just kind of put in, blocked out where the new house went, and it was just maximizing the southern exposure because we wanted solar panels on the house, and we wanted to maximize the view of the pond. And it all looks very simple now, but it took about a year of hand-wringing to decide where we were going to put the new house. And we had an architect help us with that. And again, I guess the thing that I realized from a Passive House point of view when we took the Passive House course, you want to build a square building and reduce the amount of surface area. And what we ended up doing was building a 2,500 square foot house, which is what we wanted, and then adding, I guess, the 2 breezeways, 1 breezeway to connect it to the existing house and 1 to connect it to the garage. So there was a lot of compromising keeping that existing house. It does work very well for us and our family because we wanted sort of a separate house for our kids as we got older. They could have their own space. So that was the rationale, but I sometimes think we were crazy doing it. And this shows the construction, and Terrell did this, which did a very nice job, thank you. But you can see we have the 3 inches of Gutex on the outside, and then we had the 2x8 the 2x8 cavity, which were 2-foot centers. So we were able to get a good R value in there. I think that was about R28 or something, or 26. It's an R50 wall. So we've got the sort of the unusual thing is we put the Intello here and then had our service cavity in here. And I'm not sure if I was to do it again, it would be much better to get a wall system that was easier to install. It did take a lot of time using lamb's wool. The doors and windows, so we shopped around a lot for doors and windows, and another lesson learned was we put Optwin windows in the existing house, and we're very, very happy with them. We got them from Austria. It seemed like I was paying an enormous amount of money for these triple glazed windows. But the funny thing is we ordered the Optwin windows first, and then we thought, well, there's no way we can put these expensive windows in the garage and the breezeways. So we're just building the main house as the Passive House, and the garage and breezeways will be sort of lower tech, and we'll just put these fiberglass windows in those areas. So we ordered the doors and windows from Austria, and it was going to take 8 weeks. Well, of course, that took 12 weeks. But then we ordered the fiberglass windows, and the fiberglass windows were almost the same price as the windows from Austria. So the tough lesson learned was the windows, the Canadian-made windows were about 1/10 as good as the windows from Austria. And they were probably 10 or 15% less, but everybody's going crazy here building, but nobody's going crazy in Austria building. So we were able to get a pretty good price on windows over there. So, and I know we've got somebody here showing European windows. I wish I'd priced everything out in advance. I just assumed I was going to get a much better deal on Canadian windows. This is Graham doing the blower door test. Again, we thought this was going to be a slam dunk. It wasn't so easy. A huge amount of detail going into taping everything up. But we did the first test was one air change. And we found out we hadn't closed up the attic hatch, so that explained why that happened. And then the second one is 0.65, and again, then we realized it was leaking around the slab, and the next one was 0.5, so we're under the 0.6 that's required. And I've got some space heating numbers, but Andrew Peel came around, and we're sort of in that 15 kilowatt per hour threshold, and I think we're going to be able to get certified. But you know, if we hadn't have done all this work, it probably would have been 3 to 4 or 5 times more in energy requirements. This is the mechanical room, and I'll just very quickly show you. I mean, it's a standard Zender, but we did put the geothermal unit in, and we've got a ground floor loop, or a loop that goes right around the entire foundation, which is 300 feet. So all that cold air gets immediately heated up to about 50 degrees through the heat exchanger. It uses very little energy. It's just a small circulating pump. And then we have the Chiltrix heat pump, which is also sort of a best of breed. It's got all the latest sort of computer software to keep it producing the minimal amount of energy needed to heat the house. And the design team, we had an architect, it was William Deuce, an architect. Our PH consultant was Andrew Peel. And then I got to give kudos to 475 Solutions. We worked with Lucas Johnson there, and he was very helpful in walking us through all the requirements we needed with vapor barriers and tapes and all the rest of it. And our contractor was Creek Valley. And he's the guy who had all the Mennonites, and we were very lucky. I was kind of the quasi-contractor with the contractor. So what that really means is that I was paying him a fee for his guys and some of the stuff he did. And then I had, like I did our own kitchens, we did our own mechanicals. So we didn't pay a contractor fee on everything we did. And I think that's about it. It sounds like I'm out of time. And all I would say is after doing it all, I thought at one point we were blowing our brains out doing a passive house, but I guess when I finished the job, I realized we really weren't. And so I'm very proud of the fact that we've done it. And I would encourage you all to go forth if you haven't already and build yourself a passive house. I think the world's changing very quickly. And I think 10 years from now, we're all going to have to build passive houses. And if we build old school now, we're going to regret it later. So thank you for the opportunity. Take care.